Hey guys, this is Corey and welcome to CNA Films and Animation. Well, yesterday I gave you guys my favorite films of 2012, and today I posted my top 10 least favorite films of 2012. I'm also going to post today my my top 10 films that I feel were the best made. Now, I know that can be confusing. My top 10 favorite films are the films that I feel like were the most entertaining, the most enjoyable. How many times I saw them, it was based on that criteria. But I'm going to look at the films that I feel were the best of the best. Now granted, I haven't seen every movie that came out this year, so there's probably going to be several movies that should be on this list but aren't, and that's just because I didn't see them. But with that, I'm going to share with you what I felt were some of the best made movies of 2012. And also, this is regardless of whether I like the film or not. I'm kind of pushing my feelings aside, my feelings toward the film aside, just so I can give this a very analytical view of what I feel were the best movies of last year. So with that, I'm going to share a couple of honorable mentions. So the first honorable mention that I have is Hope Springs. Now this was a very small, kind of quiet film. It had Meryl Streep, Tommy Lee Jones, and Steve Carell, and everyone in the film was fantastic. It's a very small film. It was very well made. I enjoyed it very much, and it was very close to making my top 10 favorite films. But it kind of fell short. I stick by with what I said about all my favorite films of last year. But, I recognize that this movie was very well made, and, I feel it deserves to be mentioned. Next honorable mention was the newest James Bond movie, Skyfall. Now, I'm not the biggest James Bond movie fan. I've seen only a couple of his movies, and they were good. I have nothing against them, but it's just I didn't fall in love with this movie like a lot of people did. So, with that, I pushing aside my emotions with this movie, I recognize that this movie is very well made, very intense, very well acted thriller. And with that, I'm going to give it an honorable mention. I do think that there were 10 other films that were even better made than this film. Next honorable mention is one that was in my favorites list, and it was in my honorable mentions. It was Prometheus. Now, again, I know that this movie had a lot of controversy, but I do think that this movie has a lot to offer, visually as well as directing wise. This movie was very well made. It was very, it did have its problems, but, this movie is definitely a cinematic achievement in a sense. Nothing to the height of, Alien or even Blade Runner, but still, it's definitely worth mentioning. The next film is one that I really didn't know what to expect, but a lot of people love this movie. I was kind of a little bit put off by it, just because I didn't know what to expect. That was Safety Not Guaranteed. This film, I will admit, it was very well made. It was very quirky, I guess, and, for an independent film, a very small budget film, it's a very well made film. And I do recognize it as a cinematic achievement. My number 10 film is The Perks of Being a Wallflower. I absolutely love this film, and I do think that it is one of the best films of the year. It was my number 5 in my top. It was my number 5 in my top 10 list, and I do think that this film was definitely very well made. Especially for a book adaptation. I did not read the book, but for a book adaptation, I was very impressed. And with that, I'm going to say that The Perks of Being a Wallflower was my number 10 choice for the best film of the year. Number 9 is one that was my number 3 pick for my favorite film of the year, and that was The Dark Knight Rises. Now, this movie does have some issues. It's not a masterpiece by any means, but I do think that it is a very well-acted film. It's definitely a masterful achievement from Christopher Nolan, and it's definitely worth having in my top 10 best movies of the year list. My number 8 choice for best movie of the year is Flight. This was the Denzel Washington film that was directed by Robert Zemeckis, and I do think that this movie is very well directed, it's very well acted, and I made a review for it. You guys can find it in the description below, and it's definitely worth checking out. Overall, it was a very well done movie. I think it does deserve to be in the top 10 best movies of the year. My number 7 choice was one that was an honorable mention in my favorite films, and that was End of Watch. I truly love this movie. I truly thought that this film was one that shouldn't be missed. It was very well filmed, very intense. The direction was fantastic, as well as was the writing, and the acting from Jake Gyllenhaal and Michael Pena was top-notch. My number 6 choice is Rian Johnson's Looper. This was my number 4 choice in my top 10 favorites, and this was one that I felt was, as a cinematic achievement, it was absolutely fantastic. I cannot say anything negative about this film just because I absolutely loved it so much, but this film was very impressive from a cinematic standpoint. It definitely deserves to be in my top 10 best movies list. Number 5 is one that was not in my top 10 favorites. I did enjoy it. I thought it was a very good book adaptation, but it just didn't make the cut, and that was Life of Pi. Now, I thought that this film was very well adapted from the book. It was very well acted. The cinematography was beautiful in this movie, and that definitely goes for Ang Lee's direction. I mean, Ang Lee's direction was just fantastic in this film, and it definitely shows. My number 4 pick was my number 8 pick for favorites, and that was Django Unchained. Now, this film I do think was excellently directed. It was excellently acted. Everything about this film was just fantastic, and it is definitely one of the best movies of the year. Number 3 choice is Ben Zietlin's Beasts of the Southern Wild. This was a very small film. It was an independent film, and it hits home in every level. The on-location filming, the young actress Quinzene, I forgot her last name, Wallace, I think it's Wallace, Quinzene Wallace. I could be wrong on that. But the young actress in this film was just absolutely fantastic. I truly hope that she gets nominated for an Oscar. And, she really did give a fantastic performance, as did her father and, everyone else in the film. They were all fantastic. But, I do think that there were 2 other films that were just even better. My number 2 choice is one that was my number 9 favorite film, and that was Ben Affleck's Argo. I truly think that this film is just a cinematic masterpiece. It's one of the best movies of the year. It is definitely Ben Affleck's best movie that he's made, and this is coming from a guy who absolutely loved Gone Baby Gone as well as The Town. This film definitely deserves to be nominated for several categories. I would say Best Picture, Best Director, Best Writing. I would even say Best Actor for Affleck, as well as Best maybe Supporting Actor for Alan Arkin. Don't know about the acting ones, but overall I absolutely love this movie. It definitely deserves to be recognized, and it's one that I truly think is one of the best movies of last year. My number 1 pick, I think, is one of the best movies of the year, You know, from everything from the directing, the acting, the cast, the editing, the overall tone of the film, just everything hit me on the right level. This was my number 6 pick for favorite film of the year, and I do think that this was the best film, at least from what I saw, of the year, and that was Wes Anderson's Moonrise Kingdom. Everything about this movie was absolutely fantastic. I cannot recommend it enough. It's one of the best movies, and if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend that you go rent it or buy it even. This is definitely Wes Anderson's best movie, and it's one that is easily related to. So, that's my top 10 best movies of the 2012. These were the movies that I felt were cinematically the best made. Like I said earlier, I have not seen every movie that came out, so movies like Zero Dark 30, The Master, Cloud Atlas, Les Miserables, those movies I haven't seen. Would they be on this list? I'm sure they would, but I just haven't seen them. Or even The Hobbit, I just haven't seen any of these. I want to, and I will probably make reviews for them when I do see them, but until then, this is my list. I'm happy with this list, and I feel that these were the cinematic achievements of the year. So with all that said, I'm going to talk just a short bit about what I feel will be kind of the Oscar contenders for the year. And I'm going to look at this from a standpoint of movies that I have seen and I haven't. So I think that movies I think will be nominated are for Best Picture. I think will be Argo, probably Zero Dark 30. I imagine Django Unchained will be nominated. The Master will probably be nominated. Les Miserables could be nominated. Life of Pi could potentially be, although that might go more for cinematography or director. And I'm rooting for it, but I'm hoping that Moonrise Kingdom does get nominated, being the underdog. It probably won't win, but I do hope that it does get nominated. Another film that I think will be nominated, or is almost a shoo-in, it's Lincoln. I do think that will be nominated as well. Some actors that I think will be nominated, I think that Daniel Day-Lewis will be nominated. Joaquin Phoenix is a good possibility, as could be Denzel Washington. I'm hoping for Ben Affleck for Argo, but there's just no guarantee on that one. Honestly, I'm not sure who supporting or actress-wise will be nominated. I hear that Helen Hunt is very good in The Sessions. Director could be Ann Lee, Quentin Tarantino, Ben Affleck. I'm almost certain will be nominated. So yeah, I'm really hoping that a lot of these films do get nominated. I really do hope that, going back to my list, I truly feel that these were the best movies of the year. So I hope you enjoyed the list. I will be making another video when the Oscar nominations are released, and I will give you my thoughts and feedback on how I feel about the nominations when they come out. Share what some potential snubs could be, what films I'm hoping will win, stuff like that. So with that, I hope you guys like this video. If you like this video, be sure to like, favorite, and subscribe. What do you think was the best movie made last year, in 2012? Comment below and let me know. I'm Corey, and I'll see you guys in the next one.